February 26, 2005, General George Casey, then the commander of U.S. forces in Iraq, estimated that American troops had killed or captured 15,000 Iraqi insurgents in the previous year. The only problem? 15,000 far exceeded the number given by any other American general in 2004 for the size of the entire insurgency. Our fourth story in the countdown, the insurgency had not been eradicated then, and the Pentagon's claims of progress in Iraq as a result of the surge cannot be trusted now. When President Bush, via his surrogate, General David Petraeus, delivers his report to Congress on Monday, the administration is expected to cite a 75% decrease in sectarian attacks in Iraq. That sounds great, does it not? But it appears to have been accomplished by severely tightening the definition of a sectarian attack. If you can't raise the bridge, lower the expectations. Certainly not by including bombings that target particular sects or ethnicities. Take last month's massive bombing in northern Iraq, which killed 500. Since the Pentagon does not consider large bombings an example of sectarian violence, it was not included in the August totals. Presto changeo, sectarian murders are now down, and the more grimly successful an act of mass murder is, the less it counts. Recent violence among rival Shiite militias in southern Iraq, that is not included either. In fact, the Pentagon says it is not tracking Shiite on Shiite nor Sunni on Sunni violence to any significant degree, quote, given a lack of capability to accurately track the numbers. It is, in short, mathematical genius. Two retired senior military officers providing starkly different assessments of the war effort today on Capitol Hill. Major General John Batiste, former brigade commander in Iraq, clearly not shilling for the administration when he warned the U.S. faces a no-win situation in Iraq.
We have put our strategic interests in the hands of an incompetent government in Iraq, and we are waiting to see if they can settle their differences. This is unacceptable. The current surge in Iraq is too little, too late. The government of Iraq is incapable of stepping up to their responsibilities. Our nation has yet to mobilize to defeat a serious threat which has little to do with Iraq, and it is past time to refocus our national strategy for the Middle East.
And in this corner, General Jack Keane, the former Army Chief of Staff and one of the chief proponents of the surge before the president implemented it early this year, who argued, in effect, Shiite happens.
When you fight a war, there's going to be stress and strain on armies. That's what happens to armies when you fight wars. That's the reality of it. And for the life of me, I don't know how throwing the towel in and losing a war somehow would help us strategically in the world. We've had some disappointments, and we're going to have some more disappointments in the future, but the momentum has significantly shifted here.
Time now to call in our own Jonathan Alter, senior editor at Newsweek magazine. John, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
Karl Rove may be gone from the White House now, but when it comes to the statistics being used in this debate over the surge, does it look like he left his math behind him?
Yeah, it's fuzzy math, as President Bush himself used to call it, or you could maybe even call it the big lie. I mean, look, a 75% reduction in sectarian violence, this is a joke. The GAO, which is extremely reliable, just issued a report saying that these numbers can't be believed. A lot of different sources within the government say they're cherry-picking the evidence. There was somebody quoted in the Washington Post this morning saying if you're shot in the back of the head, it's counted as sectarian violence. If you're shot in the front of the head, it's not counted because it's seen as just garden variety crime. So that what they're doing is they're cooking the books once again to try to make the best of a bad situation.
The White House Chief of Staff, Mr. Bolton, we've already quoted what he said in USA Today this morning. He also said that the president will address the nation next week about Iraq. That would be, coincidentally, the 6th anniversary of 9/11. I'm sure there's no confluence there at all. Should we be expecting more conflating of those attacks from 2001 and the war in Iraq? Should we expect Mr. Bush to draw upon that tragedy for his own political gain to keep the streak going in that department?
Well, you know, he's not running again, but yes, the great conflation is the major theme now of this administration. It has been since the war began. There were no Iraqis on the planes that crashed into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon on 9/11. They were Saudis mostly. You know, so the idea that somehow these are all connected has been totally discredited, and yet they continue in the ads that they're now putting on to support the war, which have the Twin Towers in them, in a lot of things that come out of the president's own mouth. No doubt in the Crawford Presidential Library, you will see the great conflation perpetuated.
Amazingly enough, today also brought some signs here, the first signs of a draft Petraeus for President movement, which included an editorial in the sort of embarrassingly reactionary newspaper in New York, The Sun. Should this thing erase any ideas that the administration doesn't have a coordinated attack on this front, on this propaganda front, the likes of which they could only wish they had planned for post-Saddam Iraq?
Well, you know, I don't know about the New York Sun. I'm not sure they necessarily have to take their marching orders from the White House. But clearly, you've got the erection of a Potemkin village with Petraeus playing the role of Potemkin, who gets the czar to see this kind of phony village. And I guess we're the czar, that, we're getting conned here. Has General Petraeus shown some signs of progress in Anbar? Apparently so, but the situation there is much more complex, and what's going to happen is we're going to get the conflation of some minimal progress with the overall war effort, and we're going to be sold a bill of goods in the next couple weeks that things are looking rosy in Iraq.
Yeah, there is a czar, actually. Remember, there's a war czar. Mr. Lute is still in this. We haven't heard from him in about a month. But where are the Democrats? Have they not gotten the bell? Did they not hear the bell ring for the start of September?
Yeah, we're still waiting for Godot. The Democrats have been cowed by this minimal progress and this idea that the whole debate has become muddy now. They realize that the president is going to kick the can down the road, make it their responsibility, try to blame them who lost Iraq when they pull out, and they're trying to avoid this tar baby, but they're going to have and deserve real problems with the Democratic base for not showing more guts on Iraq this fall. September was supposed to be the moment of truth. It's not going to work out that way, Keith.
Jonathan Alter of Newsweek and MSNBC. Great thanks as always, John.
Thanks, Keith.